This was a This was the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people of the Three Fires Confederacy, which consists of the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and the Odawa people. Everyone is encouraged to reflect on the city that they're joining from, as we're joining from all over today. And if English isn't your first language, you can closed caption our conversation into your language of choice. So the ENRICH Project was established by Dr. Ingrid Waldron in 2012 to address the social, environmental, political, and health impacts of environmental racism in Mi'kmaq and African Nova Scotian communities. In 2020, the ENRICH Project became a project on Makeway's shared platform and expanded its scope to examine and address both environmental racism and climate change impacts in Indigenous, Black, and other marginalized communities across Canada. In fall 2022, we launched the social media campaign, The Environmental Injustice of Beauty, which aimed to build awareness about the adverse health effects of toxic personal care and beauty products. These webinars aim to expand on this campaign by bringing researchers, health professionals, activists, and community members together in conversation about the adverse health impacts of toxic personal care and beauty products in a three-part series. So in today's webinar, we will be discussing the role of Eurocentric beauty standards in influencing products used among racialized women. We'll be hearing from Dr. Amina Mire from Carleton University, Shamsa Hassan from Afiya Beauty, and Jennifer Holness. Now, my name is Josie Alicia, and I'll be your moderator. I'm a social media influencer and content creator, primarily on Instagram, and an instructor at St. Clair College. A friend of mine introduced me to the ENRICH Project, and I was very intrigued by the topics that they were investigating. I went on to collaborate with them as an influencer to help amplify their message on Instagram and TikTok for the Toxic Beauty campaign. So I got to create a lot of really cool content that incorporated trending memes, dances, and audios as a way to captivate a younger audience and get these women thinking about the long-term effects of the products they use and put in their bodies. So let's hear from our speakers. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why this topic is important to you. Jennifer Holness.
Okay, so we're starting with me. Hello, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Josie. Okay, so Jen Holness. I am a Toronto-based writer, producer, and director. I own and run my own production company, Hungry-Eyes Media, with my very talented partner, writer, director, producer, Sud Sutherland. I've been in film and television for a while now, over 20 years, and we started off making music videos, short films, features, TV dramas, and documentary series, and then now we're actually doing digital projects, which is kind of exciting. I'm very proud to say that my company is an award-winning company that's made content for globally. We did a count a few weeks ago, and we realized that we had won 43 national and international film and television awards, and we were nominated for another 65, including what I mentioned earlier. We were nominated for 5 CSAs, Canadian Screen Awards, today. So in addition to my creative and business role at Hungry-Eyes Media, I'm a founding member and the inaugural chair of the Black Screen Office, and I'm a member of a number of boards, and I'm also a part of a board where we're trying to find a $20 million fund for BIPOC creators. And in addition to all of that, I am, in fact, the mother of 3 daughters. And that's actually what brought me, I guess, into this conversation. My daughters are in their teens and early 20s. And essentially, I made a movie called Subjects of Desire, and it is about Black women and beauty. But I was inspired by my daughters because essentially what happened was one of my daughters was home, and she went to, her school is predominantly white. It's a girls' school, and her girlfriends were sort of, and their white girlfriends were valorizing her. They were saying, "Oh, we love your skin, it's so nice. We love your lips," and she has full lips. And they were like, "We love your booty." And it was really an interesting conversation. And I was actually quite surprised actually by it. And I went up to my daughter and I said, hey, young lady, tell me what's going on. We arrived, the Black women arrived. That's very different from my experience as a kid. And she broke down crying and letting me know that essentially, she didn't actually believe what was being said, that they were just being nice or it's just things that people say. And then talking to my other two daughters, it made me realize that there was something much greater than all the things that I try to put on my daughter, all the love I try to put on her and my girls. And that was what inspired me to make Subjects of Desire, which is a film about Black women in beauty.
That is such an interesting story. I remember growing up, and yeah, that is definitely different from the experiences I had as a kid. I would love to grow up right now instead. Yeah, it's unfortunate that that she felt that way, but I can definitely relate when you don't really believe the things that people are telling you, and sometimes you got to wonder if it's also the media that we're consuming that doesn't, I guess, reflect the same things that we're hearing from our peers. So I commend you in that film. I would love to watch it. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for introducing yourself. So, Miss Amina Mire, can you please tell us a bit about yourself and why this topic is important to you?
First, let me thank the organizers of this incredible event, the participants, and the panelists. I actually came across my path toward what became of my career quite by accident. I was actually a master's student in philosophy at the University of Toronto when I got a summer job that I have actually a background early in the sciences, pharmacy and chemistry and philosophy. So I was interested in the environment, but more along the lines of ecology and technology and social justice is what I was interested in my master's studies. And I was actually planning to do a PhD in philosophy of science. And I got a job in summer, and I had the chance of working with Somali communities in Metro Toronto area. I went to the University of Toronto, both for my master's and for my PhD. So at the time I was actually on the final year of my master's studies. And I went to this local Somali store in Etobicoke, and I noticed that there was an entire shelf with products that had both mercury and the word Diana, and I just was like floored, having a science background. And I actually read it, and I realized that the content were actually on the cover that it contained mercury. So I asked the person that was selling it. It just said made in Lebanon, and I grabbed one of those jars and sent to a colleague of mine at the time, a medical doctor in the University of Alberta. He was able to send to toxicology lab, and we discovered a jar of maybe 300, I don't know, I actually said the numbers of my doctoral studies, so I don't know how much, but it has a massive amount of mercury. And mercury is by far one of the most toxic chemical in the world. So this is how I actually started looking at why recent immigrants from East Africa, from Somalia, felt like they need to bleach their skin. Because when I was growing up, that was not a problem. But the community comes here and all of a sudden, they become a stranger to their own skin, to their own, body. And for me, at the time, I didn't have really strong sociological background. I only had pharmacy, chemistry, philosophy background. So I finished the master's and I switched to OIC for the PhD. And I started interrogating skin bleaching. Where does it come from? Keeping mercury as the kind of the driving force. In other words, toxicity. But then I discovered it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It has a long history, and I decided instead of going to some field work in the continent, where actually my supervisor was trying to encourage me, that I want to look at the industry behind this. the ideology behind this. So I did my doctoral studies on the subject of skin whitening. You can look at it. It's at the University of Toronto, wrote a book. But if you want to look at the kind of the toxicity aspect of it, which is what is, I think, beauty and toxicity and the environment, you might want to look at my essay, Poison, Power, and the Politics of the Color Line. I wrote this essay, and it's all about toxic chemicals that are promoted in beauty products. One thing I can tell you is that no beauty product whatsoever is actually safe, because beauty products are not, yes, I just want to tell you this, because beauty products are not regulated according to the medical regulations. Beauty products have the least regulation. Like, I'm not saying every, I'm wearing a lipstick, you can see, but I can tell you that the beauty product do not go through the assessment, risk assessment, efficacy assessment the drugs go through, because by definition, cosmetics are supposed to be superficial. They're not supposed to be penetrating your skin. Therefore, they have a minimal regulations. Yet, much of the beauty you see today, shimmering stuff, glowing stuff, they contain nanoparticles. They penetrate your skin. And in terms of the environment, which I think is very important, much of the toxic skin bleachers and other beauty products, they have been pumping them to the continent. And there were a group of ecologists who discovered where there were no industry in the continent. I believe it was in Tanzania, I'm not so sure, that the fishes contain high level of mercury. And they discovered the mercury was actually coming from leftover skin bleachers containing mercury. So you can see, because not only do they can penetrate your brain, your breast, your milk, and can poison by the way, you can take a mercury poisoning by touching. You can sit a seed that has a mercury and you can pass it on to your family. But also it has a high half-life. In other words, it can remain in your body for over a decade. So we, people of color, suffer the worst, because first we consume the least regulated skin bleachers and other beauty products, but also that we are driven toward trying to be beautiful, because we live in a society where our standards of beauty are considered to be below, and therefore hair straighteners that they give us to make our hair respectable, these creams, they're all chemicals that can penetrate your body and skin. I even discovered, despite having 2 degrees in science, one in pharmacy and one in chemistry, that the word natural has no legal standing, only when I was writing my book in 2020, Wellness in Whiteness. Whereas if you use the word organic, it has a legal standing. You have to actually prove it is because mercury, like cyanide, is a naturally occurring element. So therefore, when they sell to you, oh, this is a natural, watch out. It can be naturally chemical that can kill you. So this has been a long process for me, but I think the title you have here is brilliant. And I really like the justice aspect of it, the environment aspect of it, and that the beauty can kill you. Because if the product that they want you to look beautiful and respectable can slowly kill you, then we need a different approach to both access to beauty, because we have right to beauty. That's why I like Jennifer Holness. She's so brilliant. But also we need to be safe. So I have done quite a bit of work. You can look at my work, but I can only say that I'm very, very committed to the kind of work I do. And I engage in the public internationally and nationally very extensively.
Thank you so much for that. I definitely want to check out your papers. I'm going to have to look for them. I believe you said that was at the University of Toronto. I did not know that there was a difference between natural and organic, and now I'm going to have to go through all of my makeup, of which I have a plethora of, and do some removing, because that has thoroughly scared me.
Yes, the word natural means it can be only because organic and inorganic substance are naturally occurring. So they can give you substance has 90% inorganic substance, which is not good for you, but legally speaking, chemistry speaking, it's natural products. And I even having all that science background realized that they don't have to incur either FDA or, by the way, in Canada, it's regulated, cosmetics are regulated by the Department of Justice. In the US, it's regulated under the Department of Agriculture. Just be aware of this. They are not committing any kind of legal offense if they say the product is 99% natural. That means could be 99% inorganic chemicals that are bad for you.
Something to definitely look out for. Oh dear. Shamsa, Hassan, can you please tell us a bit about yourself and why this topic is so important to you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Josie. I'm super honored to be here. Jennifer and Dr. Amina, wow, I'm so incredibly honored to be part of this panel with your brilliant minds. So good evening. My name is Shamsa. I am coming to you today on the ancestral lands of the traditional Anishinaabe people. I'm one half of Afiya Beauty, a natural skincare company founded by my sister, primarily out of a need of representation in the clean beauty and wellness space. So Afiya Beauty, we started out of love of formulating, or what we call potion making. But as we further educated ourselves on the clean beauty and started talking and joining particularly the wellness entrepreneur space, we quickly realized that our work transcended beyond making beauty products. Much of what Dr. Amina has been talking about is something that became incredibly clear to us as we really became well aware of the incredible health implications of what we were consuming and what we were putting onto our bodies every day, and the political and socioeconomic and harmful health effects that our beauty cabinet actually holds was incredibly disturbing to have really stumbled upon. Just in our search to make like some body butters, some shea body butters. And then, once we went to Winners one day and we got a shea butter, and then we looked at the back end and realized all the things that were actually, shea butter was one of the last 3 ingredients off this long list. And that's when we really understood what was going on. And although beauty has like this very light and playful connotation to it, it really is a huge part of our identity, especially as Black women, and it informs a lot of our decisions on how we feel about ourselves. And at Afiya, we really wanted to be able to create safe and alternatives for people with melanated skin in mind. And I'm Somali, and we take our bleaching quite seriously. Growing up in a Somali household, being a dark-skinned Somali girl in my house was always an incredibly difficult space to navigate, being recent immigrants and having my aunties and my grandmother and even my mom like bleaching. We called them back home, we called them DVs, Diana victims, because you'd see these like massive blotches on their skin because of the overuse of the hydroquinone, the bleaching ingredient that's in it. It would turn their skin see-through, and then with the sun exposure, the hyperpigmentation was irreversible, and the damage is incredibly like very visible. So this is how I came to be in this space and to talk about this incredibly important topic today.
Thank you so much for sharing, Afiya. Clean beauty is something that is definitely needed, and I do like that a lot of brands are starting to kind of move towards that sphere. And I'm hoping that it's not just because they want to hop on the trend, but more so that they're realizing that people don't want to spend money on products that aren't backed up with good ingredients, right? And on the topic of skin bleaching, I went to the beauty store today because I had to get some rubber bands for my hair. And I was surprised to see that they still had a whole cabinet of bleaching products, soaps and creams and all sorts of things under lock and key. I thought we were done with it, but Apparently not. I was disappointed, but what are you gonna do, right? Just keep trying to inform people. So we'll get into some more of our questions. Jennifer,
Mm.
what are the effects of white beauty standards in the media on racialized people? And why was it important to you to make the film subject of desire?
Okay. Well, I told you that I was inspired by my daughters, but here's the thing. What I understood, and I think we've all expressed this, is that beauty equals power and access. And so when we're in North America, for example, where white beauty standards are the norm, well, implicitly that tells you that you aren't valuable, right? It's like you don't fit into the norms. And so for me, I was actually interested in looking at this power dynamic because of the fact that there were mental health consequences that are almost never addressed when it comes to Black girls and women. My daughter herself, she rejected a lot of the things that I tried to tell her, like we talk about complexion. We're dark complected Jamaican background, and I never use skin bleaching. And I used to do things like I used to have them out in the sun. I'd be like, oh my God, girls, the sun is so great, and I would really try to emphasize how important it was to be natural and to feel, good in your skin. But I really came to understand that what I was saying wasn't hitting home. It wasn't hitting home because this larger corporate, this patriarchal, white dominated society's narrative, that it actually wasn't something that was benign, that there is behind this whole power of beauty, it's another way of maintaining, white supremacy and those structures. So, I mean, because in some ways, like, beauty is seen as light. Oh, it's effervescent, it's easy, it's fresh. But, in making the documentary, I wanted to show that there is a much deeper point of this beauty standard, and that the fact that we didn't necessarily fit those beauty standards were actually damaging to us. But I also wanted to show, this was the other part, that some of the things that were natural to us are some of our aesthetics, full lips, like a certain kind of a booty, things that I was actually ridiculed for when I was a child had become quite popular. And I wanted to show that these Black aesthetics and features that belong to us, we should celebrate them, and really understand that we should redefine what beauty is, and that was really important to me. So what I try to do was make a film that could have this conversation. And by the way, one other thing that struck me, just even recently, Tracee Ellis Ross, I think we all know Diana Ross's daughter, beautiful, biracial, in some of the top TV shows in my years. And I saw her talk about how when she was growing up, she learned to speak and communicate, thinning out her lips all the time. So she would speak in a way that her lips would be pulled in. And I thought, holy frick, if Tracee Ellis Ross, with all that money and power, and, objectively a very beautiful woman, if she felt the need to do that, imagine the pressure on everyday Black girls, So anyhow, so I wanted that conversation. I felt that conversation was important to have, and I wanted to do it in a thoughtful way where we looked at the past and we looked at where the narratives about us came from, and we understood that there was a reason for them and that they were actually designed to do certain things, and then in understanding that, we could actually overcome some of these narratives and find our own comfort in our beauty and express our beauty as we are, as we come. So, you know, that was kind of like why I wanted to make the film, and you know, and to create that conversation and this understanding that I think I'd rarely seen in growing up and then raising young women.
Amazing.
That is so, I don't know, that what you're saying, it really hits home with me. And I mean, it's not that I feel like we need to have our beauty validated, because I do believe that you can feel beautiful on your own. You can believe that you're beautiful on your own. You can internalize that. But there's just something about having it recognized by society or just something other that makes it almost more real. And I don't know, perhaps I'm saying it in the wrong way, but I think we're kind of understanding what I'm trying to say here.
It's
But
about being seen, Josie. It's about being seen
yeah,
for who you are, and being heard for who you are, and not to be put in these boxes that you have to fit into. Look, I have dark complexion. I walk around the world like I am like a beautiful queen. And mostly because I've decided that's who I am. I'm not going to let anybody tell me otherwise. But here it is. It's because, though, I recognize the power that moving into the world as a beautiful person gives you. So I decided to take that power and not have someone else define it for me. And so I think this is some of the things that I wanted to have a conversation about. And I want to show us young women in particular that it's not in your head, that it's actually real. You know, the way you're feeling, there is actually a lot of institutions are actually committed to making you feel this way. Anyhow, let me throw it out to the rest of you
no,
guys.
it's a business. I get it. And I do know that you have to leave early. So I do want to ask you one last question before you have to go. Form future change-oriented actions.
Oh gosh. Okay. How does my work influence? Okay. I feel like one of the things I want to do with the film is to bring about awareness in spaces that where anti-Black racism, where is actually kind of the norm, but people don't even realize it. You know, in a lot of our institutions, schools, the corporate world, it's embedded. And so I want my film, I wanted to challenge folks in these spaces to be allies, to understand that the norm actually might work against us, that we are your colleagues, your students, that what you perceive as the norm actually is hurting us in some instances. And so I wanted to have, so I think my work is meant to actually question some of the spaces that we consider safe, or what certain norms are. And I wanted to like open up honest conversations, and and I think this is foundational work. We talk amongst ourselves, and we haven't really had these conversations in this larger platform, but it's mostly because we didn't understand our history, because it's been erased, it's been hidden, it's been morphed and twisted to, and so by creating an opportunity through this this film and other work, that allows for this foundational work of understanding and communication. And I think from that, I see change unfolding.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think your work is so necessary. And I cannot wait to see how how many more people it serves to inspire and hopefully empowers. No, just simply amazing. Thank you so much, Shan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do have to go, but I want to say that I'm like so excited. I'm gonna like follow you ladies, and because I'm sure you're on Insta, because I'm on Insta. I'm an Insta lady.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very curious about your beauty products because I'm very natural, and I think that we have to natural, not in the way that Amina described, like organic natural. And I really think it's important for us to understand what some of this stuff is doing to us, and we don't, right? So I applaud all of you wonderful ladies and the work you're doing, and I apologize that I have to leave, but I thank you so much for inviting me for this wonderful conversation.
We really appreciate having you here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. And so we are going to pass it over to Miss Amina. I would like to know, what are the damaging effects of skin whitening, and how have the media and public health officials failed to control not only mercury-based skin whitening products, but also unregulated biotechnology skin whitening products?
That's wonderful, because that's actually what my work is about. I just don't want to exhaust the platform and make it kind of like advertising for my publications, but my doctoral thesis was actually beyond. This article was on the mercury and the corticosteroids, and probably Shamsa might want to read it, because this is our pain, you know, the ochronosis and the atrophication of our skin. Was what I addressed at the beginning when I was still a doctoral student. But my doctoral thesis was actually on biotechnology, skin whitening biotechnology, and also my subsequent publications, and also my 2020 book, which, by the way, has a downloadable version. It's called Wellness in Whiteness. Can you believe that? I can't even remember the title of my book. Wellness in Whiteness, because there is where I addressed quite a bit of the biotechnology, the beauty, because I link beauty with history. I link beauty with colonialism. I link beauty with, you know, I go all the way to kind of like, you know, naming us, you know, under the, I don't know if you know, in the early period of colonialism, there were two important ideas about beauty, because for my focus is not so much about, by the way, hair color or physiognomy, but the biggest organ of the body, the skin. But if you look at our history, you know, our skin has been the target of many theories. I mean, I don't know if you know the whole idea about the son of Ham. You know, black was a curse. You know, and you know, people in the slave situation, some of them were actually poisoning their children with toxins, because they felt that they want to get, yes, you can see the literature, making their children drink urine, drink toxins, you know, just because they felt Blackness was the source of their enslavement. And so you actually can look at the psychological effect on our people, why they would bleach their skin, is that their skin they're made to believe their skin was weighing down, like, you know, like tons of weight. And it was unclean, dirty, and maybe cursed by God. So if you really look at the kind of the history and the two places in Africa, it's also very important that the continent did not become taken over by this bleaching until the post-colonial era. You should look at the, you know, when skin bleaching became popular in places like Kenya, Nigeria, Fela Kuti wrote that famous song, Yellow Fever. It was a post-colonial effect. It was not actually in the colonial effect, whereas in the United States, it was the post-Pelham, after the ending of slavery, when they put us into segregated communities, then they start advertising bleachers to us. They say, you know, you bleach your skin. If you are mulatto, you can pass for a day. If you are black, maybe you can work for the white sus. They don't think you're too dark. So it is something that we need to theorize and bring historical context that's beyond just a beauty. And I am just writing right now a second book for an American publisher. And I'm looking at that kind of like really disturbing literature, because you can actually see, mothers talking about being cursed, because not only are we branded, but we are made to believe that we are paying the sins of Ham, And by the way, if you think this is a joke, I was at a class of political science at the University of Toronto. I'm not going to mention the professor who was teaching to African students the story of Son of Ham when I was a graduate student there. I am not joking. He retired now, so maybe me too, I can come out and name him. But you have to realize, because in Somalia, we also have this phenomena as a kind of post-state collapse. Because when I was there, when I was younger, we never have any of this like anxieties and fears and shame. So it is I try to contextualize, theorize, and use kind of if you want to see kind of historical detective, when did this become important? And you can see kind of different parts of the world. In the United States, it was because under slavery, they own us as a property. They didn't care. It's only after the slavery ended and they can no longer own us as a property, then they turn whiteness into a property. So all of a sudden, that's when whiteness as an embodied property became important to us, because under slavery, they really didn't worry about us because we were their property. So now they can own their own whiteness by excluding us from public spaces, from public resources. And it was in that period, do you see that we are being pressed? Yet you need to measure up. And for me, that was also very important to see, the same industry. I mean, you can look at brand names like Black No More, Black Remover. I'm not joking. Google it. Black Remover. It's the late 19th century brand name, made in the state of Virginia. Black Remover. Marketing to Black people before and after. So I just try to unpack that history because it's a layered trauma.
It's so interesting that all of this happened post-slavery. I know that there's been so many issues with like colorism, and like having a closer proximity to whiteness enabled you to have just like a higher chance at better jobs, better position, just I guess like a better life overall, really. And that's just kind of trickled down through the generations, unfortunately, in the ways that we've been like educating our children. And it's so good to be having these conversations now, because obviously we don't really live in these societies anymore, but these ideas are still so persistent, right?
And the colorism is the elephant in the room, because if you look at those ads, they will say, if you are mulatto, 3 more months and then you can pass for white. If you are Black, few more shades and the white will not think you as scary. So they actually will do this kind of niche marketing, and that figure into Black communities' own identities. W.D. Du Bois wrote this famous essay, quite notorious in my view, called The Talented Tenth, in which he invokes, the future leaders of Black people will be light-skinned and college-educated, Blacks. And that created kind of fraternities like Black Veiners, and all kind of groups. So where they can use like comb test, the brown back test, and vein test, by the way. And if you don't match that you will not join those kind of a Black vanguard. So there is, I think, most damaging aspect of this is the within Black communities on colorism. And I like to congratulate Shamsa, because this dark light Somali colorism is in my own family, and it is very shocking.
Yes, it's quite vicious and quite damaging to pit one community, we're all Black, right? Like it's like you can't get around it, but they're pitting just different tones of people against each other. It's crazy, but we'll keep it going. Shamsa, speaking from your experience in the beauty industry as a business owner, please touch on where the gaps exist and what role white beauty standards play when it comes to addressing skincare concerns for melanated skin.
Yeah, okay. As you can imagine, there are huge gaps that exist within the space. For starters, 75% of products marketed to Black women have ingredients classified as toxic. This is compared to 60% of products for the general population that includes questionable ingredients. And according to the Environmental Working Group, toxins found in products marketed to Black women include sodium hydroxide and formaldehyde found in Just For Me Relaxer that's marketed to Black children. And then we can, as we've talked about, hydroquinone, the skin bleaching agents marketed again to women with deeper tones. And as a consequence of this, we are seeing, incredibly high levels of parabens in our bodies. And so parabens are just very harsh preservatives that are absorbed through your skin. And studies show that Black women have paraben levels at 4 to 8 times higher than the general population. And then in addition, we now see our Black babies being born with also higher levels of paraben as a result of the mother's exposure. For me, as a mom of 2 small children who had 2 incredibly difficult birthing situations and birth outcomes, where both my kids were in NICU and preterm labor, and consequently diving deeper into why I do this work, a lot of the reasons was just to figure out answers as to how I could have had such these incredibly sad outcome that happened to me twice. And now we know that Black women have 3 to 4 times higher negative birth outcomes as to the white counterparts. And these hormone disrupting chemicals that really produce various reproductive and birth-related complications are not, unsurprisingly, there's not a lot of research available, and as it relates to personal care products, but we know that they are in fact killing us. And what we know that beauty products marketed specifically towards Black women not only have higher amounts of hazardous ingredients, but there's also very few options made with our unique hair and skin textures needs and our nuanced needs in mind. And the simple answer may be just to stop using these products that are known to be harmful. But of course, as we know, it's not that simple. There are various factors as to why Black women use so many potentially harmful personal care products, including, these white standards of beauty that we adhere to, respectability politics, like we've been talking about. And even though now that we see the natural hair movement that's been around maybe the last 15 years, we've seen that hair relaxers have gone down by 39%. Now what we're seeing is companies introducing greenwashing into our community. So now what they're doing is they're changing up the marketing. They use packaging to look more natural. They're still withholding information of what these terms, as Dr. Amina was saying, such the terms of natural, organic, clean, which have obviously no real meaning and are unregulated in our cosmetic industry. So a Black woman who decides to go natural can purchase these products but still be exposed to these toxins unbeknown to her. The average Black woman uses 8 to 10 beauty products at any time. So, these effects are being multiplied at an exponentially higher rate. And also what's even more shocking to me is that the Black women spend 9 times more money on beauty and personal care products, yet our dollars are not able to purchase better for us products. So why there is this massive lack of understanding about the spending power of Black women linked to obviously racism is insane, because Black women in the US spend $22 billion a year on beauty and skincare products. This is 80% more money on cosmetics and twice as much money on skincare than the mainstream female market. So it's just, another way to show us, like, the value of our lives. Even our dollars are not able to purchase better for us products is really disconcerting. So yeah, that is the short of it.
You have so many stats to back up all of your arguments. That is wild to me, especially the spending power. Oh my gosh, $22 billion. And I wonder if it's in part because we have to try so many different products to find something that actually works, right? Because, companies market things at us. We try and it's like, okay, well, that didn't work. They said it was going to work for my 4C hair. This is clearly for 3A hair, not for me. But yeah, if they could just make something good and organic and healthy, even if it was expensive, people would still buy into it. Even just the power of word of mouth, right? All of that money just to one company. Someone's got to tell them. Maybe it can be you. Craziness. So, Dr. Amina, how can your work inform future change-oriented actions?
So for me, several things. One is whenever I'm invited to participate in public forums, I jump to the occasion. I recently was a part of a CNN panel. I give people interviews, Wall Street Journal. Recently, I was in a marathon on CBC Radio. I written for many, many venues. So I don't just write only scholarly work. I try to be publicly engaged. And I will definitely say that everybody has their role. So for me, producing knowledge that others can use, research-based evidence is one of the ways I try to bring the harmful effects out there, so people can learn from this. But I'm actually quite hopeful for younger generation like you, like Shamsa. You're going to take the torch, and you're talking about this, and this is very, very important. And where I can come in is that kind of like using, just showing, for instance, to be honest and saying that despite having so much science, it was only when I was writing my 2020 book that I realized the word organic is regulated, but the word natural is not regulated. So the companies are aware of this. So I will definitely say that I'm also a mother to a daughter. I have a daughter. She is definitely beautiful, but we're Black people. We're all we're against the standards. We're being told and even my daughter, who is quite stunning, feels the prevailing Eurocentric standards. So for me, what I see is the future. So for me is to make myself available to young and energetic and entrepreneurial and influencers like you and Shamsa and others, and see the future will look better. This is how I see the change in the future: is you are the change, and therefore the change will come.
We just got to keep on educating ourselves and we will make the changes. I love it. Shamsa, what do you think? How can your work inform future change-oriented action?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just quickly talk about what we are doing here at Afiya Beauty. So we are committed to using new technology and conscious manufacturing practices to develop plant extracts from recovered waste. So we're looking at becoming a leader in this field, developing high performance, inclusive skincare products sustainably made with low environmental impact. And so currently the upcycling cosmetic market is mainly represented by scrubs and oils and soaps. However, our company is researching on ways to upcycle ingredients to make sophisticated serums rich in vitamins and antioxidants that solve our customers' most pressing skin concerns. And because we work with people with melanated skin, the biggest thing that our customers had challenged us to formulate a product that helped address a very common skin problem, which is skin discoloration and dark spots, again, without the use of traditional and potentially harmful depigmenting ingredients, of course, such as hydroquinone, but more importantly, we're talking kojic acid, steroids, and any other kind of bleaching agents. And although skin discoloration affects everyone, it affects those with darker complexion more, as excess melanin is more easily formed with darker skin tones. And treatment is much harsher and takes more time to see results. So our solution is our hero product, our multi-correctional balm at reducing skin discoloration and fading acne dark spots using our own proprietary plant extracts that we've made in-house. And so that is how we are looking to change that conversation and looking at creating unique skincare line that is made in-house, that is made using proprietary technology and using really good, clean ingredients to solve these very big skincare concerns. Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Shamsa, if this is okay, keep in mind that all skin has melanin. There is no skin that has no melanin. So white people's skin also have melanin, except that they absorb melanin differently. Yes,
that's a little bit
so
of melanin.
I just don't want them to get you on a small print. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Very fair. Very fair. No, that's very interesting, because I mean, I definitely understand what you're talking about with the like dark spots and scarring. I scar so very easily. I definitely have like the under eye bags, and it's not even like I'm tired or anything. It's just the color of my face, right? I've come to accept it. I just put up a little bit of cover up. Same with like any scars, like just a little bit of cover up. So I'm like, at the end of the day, what am I gonna do? This is my body. This is the skin I'm in. If I really have to go somewhere where I don't want anybody to see it, God forbid, I'll just put a little bit of makeup on it until it fades away with time. But the fact that you have like an actual healthy, organic, not non-toxic way to help fade these sorts of scars and marks is amazing, because you know some women want to fade this kind of stuff faster. Like some people don't want to have to deal with makeup all the time. I have a bunch of it, so I'm like, I better use it.
Right.
We do, yeah. Now we do have an audience question for you though. Oh, how do we navigate greenwashing? I guess in the beauty sphere.
Oh, I make good use of the EWG Skin Deep database. If you just cut and paste the ingredient list and then go put into the EWG database, and it generally gives you like a scale of, there's a green check mark, a yellow, and a red. So it's easy to navigate. And there's Think Clean or Think Dirty app. There's a couple of apps going around that that you can use to better. David Suzuki Foundation has a really good website on or a database that you can put in any concerns, any tricky things that you don't understand, and you can put it in there. Not all chemicals are, of course, bad for you by any means. So, and this isn't necessarily like just a fear mongering, but more just like we should have access to better for us products like that. It shouldn't be an issue. Like beauty should not be killing us. That's the whole conversation. And I hope that this everybody kind of leaves being a little bit more informed and empowered to make better decisions. But yeah, just know that it's small steps.
Thank you so much for sharing. I will definitely be using those tools to go over some of my product lists, because like I said, I have so much stuff that needs to be looked at a bit more thoroughly. And I do have a question for Dr. Amina, also from our audience. How can healthcare providers challenge these issues or support women impacted by the toxic effects of white beauty standards? And what gaps do you think exist in the healthcare sphere?
I will definitely say this, and this is based on 20 plus years of research. The healthcare industry does not give an F about Black people's health. One time, I can even share with you, I wrote to the FDA and the guy sent me admonishing response. Despite, if you look at my work, at least 3 of my journal articles are on the FDA database. And yet, when he responded to me, he admonished me like, you're butting into our work. A good example would be hydroquinone. Most of the world has banned hydroquinone, but hydroquinone is still legal in the United States. So I say, educate yourself, learn from ourselves, but looking to the healthcare providers, no. Like, I would not say, don't put your life in their hands.
Thank you for sharing that. It's so true. You really have to be your own best advocate always. Now, I do believe in the chat, there's a link to a post-webinar survey. So if you are a part of the audience, and you'd like to share your thoughts and opinions with us, please do have a look at that link and just take a couple minutes to fill that out. But this concludes our second webinar in this series, The Environmental Injustice of Beauty. Thank you to our wonderful panel of speakers. You guys are amazing. We really value your time and your insight. And thank you as well to everybody for joining us in this important conversation. Thank you also to Jack and the Canadian Association of Nurses for the Environment, also known as CANE, for their amazing work putting together the technology for this webinar. And lastly, thank you so much to Ingrid for bringing all of us together on this project. Please take a look at our website and our social media pages to get engaged in the conversation. And if you're interested in continuing the conversation, please make sure to check out our Eventbrite page and register for the third webinar, which is going to be held next Wednesday, March 1st from 6 to 7 Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there.
Amazing. Thank you so much.